there, welcome back to my channel. Today we are working on peanut butter balls. This is one of my family's favorites. And around the holidays, there's somebody always asking for these. You're going to need peanut butter, Hershey's milk chocolate, some powdered sugar, paraffin wax that you can find in the baking aisle, and then some butter. Now I will buy any type of butter or any type of sugar, but I always buy Jif peanut butter and Hershey's milk chocolate. So grab your paper and your pencil and let's get started with these. You want to make sure that you have 2 sticks of butter that has been softened at room temperature. Now don't melt this in the microwave, you want it just softened. So set it out before you get started. Now, before we get started mixing, I usually get myself a pan, kind of small, because you're going to have to put these in the freezer before we coat them. And then I'll cut a piece of parchment paper to go in them. So I have 2 pans here. Now, if you don't have any parchment paper, all you have to do is take a little bit of butter and just smear it on the bottom of your pan, just so that you'll be able to get those off cleanly. Now we're going to need about 18 ounces of peanut butter. I happen to have the one that's 40 ounces, so I'm going to have to measure that out. That's about right. Okay, I've got my peanut butter in here. It worked out to about 2.5 cups. But if you're smart, just get the 18-ounce jar. Next, I'm adding my 2 sticks of softened butter. I've had this sitting out on the counter, room temperature. Now I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to measure my powdered sugar so I'll have it ready to go when I need it. We're going to need about 4 cups. Those are right here. I already had this one open, so I'm going to use it. Now you can sift it if you want to, but I never do. Almost. A little bit more. All right, that looks good. And you could do this with a mixer if you want, but honestly, I don't want to get it out. You just stir it up until it's really well incorporated. Okay, I'm starting to add a little bit of my sugar at a time. Now I'm going to repeat this process until all of my sugar has been mixed in. The more sugar that's added, the tougher it is going to be to stir. And I actually picked a terrible spoon to use. A wooden spoon would have been a lot better. Okay, that's the last of our powdered sugar. Okay, it's about getting to the consistency we need. Make sure all of that powdered sugar is well incorporated into the peanut butter mixture. I'm going to try to roll one up and make sure it's a good consistency. Now, if it's too mushy and wet and you can't get it to do anything that sticks to your hands, we can always add just a touch more powdered sugar. Okay, now you want to make sure we got good clean hands, or you can use gloves if you're making them for someone else. I've got my pans here. Now I'm going to get a little bit of dough. I want about a 1-inch ball. Just about that. Might be a little bit big. Okay, and I'm going to lay it on my pan like this. It's right over here to the edge. Now remember, once these are covered with chocolate, they're going to be a little bit fatter, so I may have made that one just a little too fat. Make it a little bit smaller like this. Okay, just pick up little bits and just swirl it around into a little ball and place it on the pan. Just a little bit away from each other. And once again, if you don't have parchment, just use, you know, a little greased pan or plate or whatever you have. I've used a plate before. And what's great about these is this consistency. It makes for such a delicious, soft center. But that's why we're going to freeze them for about 30 minutes to an hour, whatever your freezer does, so that when we cover them with that melted chocolate, they won't fall apart. Now, if you want to make these in batches, just double the recipe if you're planning on giving them to someone, because they keep nicely in the refrigerator in like a container. Use one of those Christmas containers or whatever you have. Plastic container. This is strangely soothing. Now you see I've already filled up one pan. There's 24 on this pan, and look how much stuff I still have. So it does make quite a lot. Now I'm going to go ahead and stick this one in the fridge. Okay, working on my second pan. All right, now this one is heading into the freezer for 30 minutes to an hour. And we'll come back and we'll work on our chocolate. Okay guys, now before we get started, we're gonna need about 1/4 of a bar. We're not gonna put all this in there, just 1/4 of a bar. Now you don't have to use paraffin wax if you don't want to, but you are gonna need another bag of chocolate if you decide not to use this or you don't have it. But for this, I only need 1/4 of a bar. The wax helps thin the chocolate, and it gives it a shine, and it gives it a little bit more texture and a little bit more fancier look. To make it easier to melt into the chocolate, and so I don't have to wait on these big chunks, I'm going to go ahead and shred it in my bowl here. Okay, I'm down to this little piece, and I don't want a chance getting my hands caught on this. So I'm going to just toss this. Okay, now we've got our wax ready to go. Okay, so I've got my pot on, my double boiler. I've got my water heating up. Gonna let it get good and warm. Okay, I'm gonna add my chocolate. Last one. Now I'm also gonna add in all of those shavings from the 1/4 of paraffin wax. I'm gonna let those melt. We want to make sure that we have this on low because we want it to melt very slowly. And we're going to stir that until it's good and smooth. Now, as my chocolate melts, I'll lay out a paper towel with 8 to 10 toothpicks because we're going to use these to hold the peanut butter ball while we cover it with the chocolate. Okay, we're going to stir the chocolate. As you can see, it's just about melted. Now, I had to turn my stove off because it was too hot. It was starting to boil underneath, and I don't need it to do that. I've got my spoon ready. All right, now, my chocolate is ready to go. I'm going to get out my peanut butter balls that have been chilling in the freezer. Now I have them right here. I'm going to set them over here on the side, away from the heat as much as possible. Let me show you how I do this. So I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to poke that all the way down in there. And then I'm just going to put the chocolate over top like this. I'll use the same pick for a little while, and I'll let the drizzle come off of it. Be sure that you're turning the peanut butter ball to make sure you're coating all the sides. And then I place it over here, and I'll twist the toothpick to get it to come back out. And that's what it looks like right there. Okay, I'll do the next one. Same way. I'll make sure I stir it up again. I pour it over the top. I twist it as I go to make sure I coat it all the way, because it won't coat the bottom if you don't. And I'll show you what I do to get rid of that little toothpick hole. Now you'll notice that I let a lot of that chocolate drizzle back into the pan, because I have to save the chocolate for the rest of the peanut butter balls that I have. But now if you want extra thick chocolate on yours, I mean, you will probably need to get you another bag of chocolate and melt 2 bags. Now, if you'll notice, you see those little dots from the toothpick? What I do to get rid of that, and I have this little drizzling spoon, is I just go over top of it, and it just fixes it right up. Or you can just use just a regular spoon. You can make little drizzles over the top if you want, different colors, up to you. But that closes it back off. Or just use a regular teaspoon. You don't have to have a drizzling spoon. I have just used the chocolate drizzle that's drizzling off of the peanut butter balls before to close it off. Now just continue this process until you have all of the peanut butter balls coated. Pop it back on for just a minute. Be sure to watch the temperature on your chocolate. Make sure that it's staying fluid. If it gets too thick, you may want to turn your burner off or on, especially to make sure that the wax stays melted. Okay, these are done. I'm going to go ahead and get the other ones out and put these in the fridge and work on them. Now after that, I'm going to come back and serve these up. Here is our finished peanut butter balls. They turned out beautifully. These are sure to fix anyone's sweet tooth. The beautiful chocolate coating and the creamy peanut butter center, these are so good and delicious. But listen, don't take my word for it. I have some special taste testers with me today. What do you think, guys?
They're delicious.
They're delicious.
So what do you think, girls?
That was delicious.
You like
delicious. Yeah.
Awesome.
And also, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.